Right, because we're looking at the nitrogen cycle here. Nitrogen carbon cycle. Right, what we'll do it this way actually. So what we'll do is we start a nitrogen cycle here. And the nitrogen cycle only works for, where are we? What does it work for? Single sciences. So you won't need the nitrogen cycle for double. So here you've got the dead matter, dead material, dead matter. So there's nitrogen in there. What do they call it? They call it detritus or detritus. I can't pronounce that, but right, from there it's broken down into let's do it this way. It's broken down into ammonia. Again, this is not difficult, it's just you've got to sit down and just revise it. It breaks down into nitrites. No. Nitrite. And then into let's put that here opposite there. Nitrates. So let's look at this. You've got decomposes. Right, it's not difficult, it's just you need to decomposes fungi and bacteria. Break down dead matter into ammonia. Then you have something called denitrifying bacteria. They break down ammonia into nitrites. Then, no, what have I just said? Let me just get rid of that. Nitrifying bacteria. My apologies. Right. So I'm doing this from memory, see if I'm any good, and then we'll check it. So you've got nitrifying, and then you've got nitrifying bacteria turns nitrite into nitrate. So again, nitrifying bacteria. I like to remember this first. Right, because I like to visualize it. That's the ground. So this is what's going on here. Now you have, what should we do? What should we do? Right, okay, I don't know. Let's do it with this. Let's do it with this. So you have plants. They get eaten by animals. And then they die. How should we do this? Right, let's do this in this color. Right. We're going to call this, let's do it in blue. Smaller size. We're going to say this is nitrogen in the soil as N to gas. So now watch what's going to happen. The plants taking the nitrates from the soil, so they absorb it. So it's absorb. Okay, we'll call it. Oh, let me just put it over here. It's called absorption. Absorption. And once you've absorbed it, it then when it becomes part of a cell, it's called assimilation. Right. Then the plant gets eaten, feeding and assimilation. So, and then when animals die, they end up back as this dead matter. So that you can call that death. And when plants also die, they end up down here as dead matter. So can you see that is quite straightforward? Look, decomposes, nitrifying, and then this, you know, this plants absorb and assimilate, animals feed and assimilate, and then you get death and death. Right, now this bit is the bit that we're not used to. So you have in the soil, you have what can you say? You have bacteria here that break down nitrates and turn them into nitrogen gas in the soil, and this is called denitrifying, as in it unnitrifies, yeah, bacteria, because I put denitrifying here, but this is nitrifying. It's turning things into nitrogen. Right, now this, some people call this bad bacteria, but I don't know if you can call that. Right, now what's happened is there's another set of bacteria that live in the roots or in the root nodules, especially of legumes, dals or legumes. And so that's your root, and they live in like little swellings or housings or blobs, whatever you want to call it. What they do is they pick up this nitrogen gas and turn it into amino acids. So this is called, let's write it here, nitrogen fixing bacteria. And that's in the roots. Okay. And now the advantage of that is the bacteria get carbs or carbohydrates from the plant, and in return the plant gets what? Amino acids to grow. So it's a win-win relationship, that. Right, from here you have, here you've got you've got protein or nitrogen in the bacteria that are in the soil. So there's loads of bacteria in the soil. They've also got protein in them or nitrogen, which then when they die, let's use that, when they die, they also end up back in the, so there's enough of a number for it to be on this diagram. Yeah, so nitrogen fixing bacteria in soil. So this is the nitrogen cycle. And it's a good one to know. Again, this is where I start. Look, I start with the dead matter. I know the decomposers will break it down to an ammonia. Then the nitrifying bacteria breaks it down to nitrite and nitrate. Then you move on to The plants, they absorb it and assimilate it. Then the animals eat that, and when they die, right, when they die, that's death, death, and death, and they become dead matter again. Right, and this is the sort of tricky process. You've got something called bad bacteria, or I won't call it bad bacteria, but denitrifying bacteria. It turns the nitrates into nitrogen in the soil. Then you have good bacteria, and it lives in the roots of legumes or dals, the ones that make, I think, pods. That's called nitrogen fixing bacteria. They take the nitrogen in the soil, live in the roots, and turn it into amino acids for the plants. And in return, the plants provide them with carbs. Right. That's it. That is the nitrogen cycle. I mean, right, should I do the carbon cycle as well? Carbon cycle is a bit different, so let's put everything back. Right. There was a good one actually, but right, we'll try to do it this way. There's different ways that you can represent this. This is an animal, so let me write animal. They have a plant here. Okay, so let's join this up. So a plant gets eaten. So the animal feeds. Again, it's like feeding and assimilation, like previously. Feeding and assimilation. There you go. Right. You've got decomposers play a large part in recycling. Decomposers. Okay, so when plants die and decay, and you also get excretion. So excretion, okay, let me write this down. Excretion. Remember we said excretion is cell waste. It's not poo. People think that that's poo. It's not. It's cell waste due to respiration. At this level, we can get away with it like that. Right. Now, so this is the carbon store. You've got a carbon store here, here, and here. Now, we can say you have carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and oceans. Believe it or not, there's loads and loads of carbon dioxide in the oceans. It's dissolved in there and it's waiting. Right, so let's start this. What colour should we do? Green. Don't know if green's appropriate, but right. Here, when plants photosynthesize, when they photosynthesize, they pull out CO2 and store it in the plant. And plants also respire. Right, when they respire, really they're pumping back CO2 into the respiration, into the atmosphere. Okay, right. When plants die, they can also become fossil fuels. Okay, and animals can die and you end up with fossilization. So that process is called fossilization. This is called fossilization. Right, you've got sea animals, and then you've got plants, and they become coal, gas, oil, and peat. Right, so from here, as human beings, what do? We burn fossil fuels. So that we can call that combustion. Right. We could also, I suppose, because as humans we use it doesn't matter. Well, as humans we use plants for food, for building materials, for paper, so loads of things we use that for. So this here we call respiration as well. Respiration. Right. So you decompose, and then from here the decomposers, they break stuff up. They also respire and release CO2 into the atmosphere. So this is a cycle, and just keep the carbon just gets recycled from the atmosphere into the animals and plants, and then back into the ground, and then back out, and it just goes. This is the carbon cycle. So it's good to know this. So look, it's taken a bit long, but I think it's worth knowing that. So we're back here, and the question is, describe how the process of nitrification affects the availability of nitrates to plants. Right, so the process of nitrification is where, remember what we said, nitrifying bacteria. What do? They turn dead matter into we're talking about nitrifying bacteria. They turn ammonia into, what did we say? Nitrites, and then into nitrates. Okay, there you have it. Remember what we said about legumes? They're like dals, they produce like pods. Right, okay. So what they do is they plow them into the soil before growing cereal crops next year, because they want to recycle the roots, which contain a lot of nitrogen. So we know that the root nodules, remember we said, look, there's the plant up there, and in the roots you've got these little blobs. They've got nitrogen fixing bacteria in there, so there's a lot of nitrogen and amino acids that they build up. And if you harvest the plant, you're left with the roots, and they just plow those in. Then they decompose and all the nitrogen goes back into the soil ready for next year. So the root nodules have nitrogen fixing bacteria. They have nitrogen fixing bacteria in there, right? They turn nitrogen, oh my god, they turn nitrogen gas in the soil into you just call it amino acids. The plants turn this into proteins, right, for growth. Right, so what does this mean? This means you will always talk about the yield if you can. Well, this will, because it's a 4 marker, this will give higher yields. Right, and then when you plow, where's the plow? When you plow the stuff back in, so let's get this right. When the plants are plowed back, then what happens? The decomposers break down so remember the decomposers are two things, aren't they? It's always good to mention them: fungi and bacteria. The decomposers break down the dead plants into just say, I don't know, I suppose you can say what would you say? Into breaks them down into minerals for the next crop. There you go. That'll cover all your marks. There's about 7-8 marks that we've got there, but maximum is 4. So you've covered everything. Right. Right, this is the rabbit question, isn't it? So the argument is like this, isn't it? You've got 100, no, let's not do 1,000, 100 kilograms of grass. Why, if a rabbit is living here, why does this rabbit not grow by 100 kilograms? Why is all the energy not transferred to the rabbit? Right, this is like what I call the rabbit question, right? So first of all, not all the grass is eaten. Secondly, some of the grass dies. Some grass dies. You have some is used for respiration for energy. Some is used for respiration for movement. Yeah, and not all the grass is digested because you don't have the enzymes as a rabbit inside you, so Some comes out of it as, some is expelled or lost as feces, as poo. Okay, that'll cover it. Right, right, we'll call it quits here. We'll do this lot on another video. Yeah. I'll tell you what, describe the biology. Yeah. I think it'll become too long then. Right, we'll stop it here.